This piece is by Jenny Hager, and it's called Dance of the Jellyfish. It's inspired by dreams that I have of flying, and in the dreams I'm doing the breaststroke. I was a swimmer growing up, so that muscle memory is a pulse and then a glide through the water, and a jellyfish moves in a very similar way through the water, and I was imagining myself moving through the air in that same fashion. I did a drawing of jellyfish in water jet cut steel piece. So it's essentially a drawing that I made in a CAD program that is then water jet cut into 1/4-inch plate steel. This work is by Durant Thompson. Durant Thompson teaches sculpture at the University of Mississippi in Oxford, Mississippi. This work is titled Mjolnir. Mjolnir is actually from Norse mythology. It's Thor's hammer, and Thor's hammer is capable of leveling mountains. It's a fearsome weapon. Durant's work is inspired by objects and forms created during the Industrial Revolution. He's interested in the design of old machinery, steam-powered engines, and railroad equipment. Also, the wheel has become a signature component that he employs in his work. This is an artwork by Sherry Hill called CMYK Ignition. The materials are clear urethane resin and photography. There are actually photographs embedded in the resin. It's inspired by the elements of fire and water. The images that you see printed inside the urethane resin are actually images of fire. CMYK, the colors are cyan, magenta, yellow, black. Her idea for this project was inspired by the Downtown is on Fire campaign, the idea of one spark and the Spark District. The title of this work is Burdens of Flight, and it's by local artist Lance Vickery. He teaches sculpture at the University of North Florida. He's really interested in the idea of space and creating aesthetic beauty through forms and movement, color. The wood pieces that are a part of this project are actually inspired by oars and paddles and propellers, but it's meant to be abstract, a beautiful form in space, and to create some movement. Artist Andrew Smith created this work. It's called Untitled M Industrial 14. Andrew is actually from Jacksonville. He got his CFA from the University of North Florida, and then he went on to Corpus Christi, Texas A&M to get his MFA, and he's now teaching in Oxford, Mississippi. It was inspired by the American highway and images you might see along the landscape, and I personally think that this work reminds me of something that you'd see in a shipyard. I think it has some sort of a marine quality to it, and it makes a great central focal point for the park. This work is called Turn Gulliver, and it's by Berlin-based artist Susanna Rower. It's inspired by a tortured knight, and he's ready to go into the arena, which is why he has a ring on his forehead. The piece is cast bronze and mild steel, and his orientation is inspired by old advertisements over craftsmen's shops. This work, Delirium, is by artist Johnny Junkins Herzog, and Johnny is from Sarasota, Florida. This work is representational of an experience that she had when she was doing a residency in Ghana. She came away with an interesting synesthesia of feelings, sounds, and sights. The work attempts to sum up the experience of feverish nights, her thatched roof mud hut, textiles, open markets, and the chaos of people in motion. Materials for this piece are steel, abaca fiber, and audio. If you stand closely to the sculpture, you can hear African drum beats. Giraffe is by local artist Melissa Russell. Melissa Russell uses recycled materials in her work. In fact, there are no new materials in this piece of work. She likes the idea that she's breathing new life into these forms that would otherwise end up in the trash. If you look closely, you can see an old gas pump, railroad wrenches, various hand wrenches, nails, and other found objects. This piece is by Jason Lake. The artwork is called Microscope, and it's using found objects, recycled materials. Jason Lake is inspired by nostalgic architectures, beat-up trucks, fields of grass, weathered barns, and industrial monuments. He's also inspired by old farm equipment and the geometry of modern architecture. He likes to think of this piece as an old Soviet Union or World War II piece of equipment. This artwork is by Brett Waller. Brett Waller's from Jacksonville, and this piece is called The Spirit of 76. It's actually a 72 Pontiac Le Mans, and it was the first car that Brett Waller ever owned. He is inspired by nostalgia and the idea of memory and loss. This piece is constructed with steel wire. This is an artwork by local artist Aisling Miller. Aisling is originally from Ireland. She got her BFA degree from University of North Florida. This piece is called Borraste, Agus, Lius. It means orange and gray. Aisling is inspired by iconic images found throughout Ireland, such as the architecture of Christian churches and the political art of Northern Ireland. This work has two unequal curved forms that are inspired by Gothic archways, which face each other and create a central ellipse. This artwork is called Opposing Forces, and it's by artist Hannah Gibran. Hannah is from Grimesville, North Carolina. In this work, he's exploring gravity, and he's also inspired by the four elements, which are earth, wind, fire, and water. This piece is actually in steel and paint, but Hannah works in a variety of materials, including wood, granite, steel, stainless steel, iron, and bronze. This work is by Bob Kuhn from Vero Beach. It's called Intersection, and it's about the intersection of lines, shapes, and forms in space. It's part of his landscape bridge series, and he thinks of these pieces as a bridge to actually other places, including both spiritually and symbolically. Kuhn works primarily in sheet aluminum, and then he paints the colors very bright. He wants to evoke emotion from the viewers and create some visual interest. David created this functional bike rack, but it's inspired by palm frond. When he was thinking of doing the bike rack for the park, he was thinking about what would be in a park, and so he thought a palm frond would be a nice image to include in the park's design. So David helped with a lot of the marketing materials for Sculpture Walk Jax, and he also helped a lot with the installation of all the sculptures. This is a functional bike rack by artist Lance Vickery. Lance is a Jacksonville-based artist, and this bike rack is inspired by graffiti. He was thinking about the urban core and wanted to create something that would belong in the park, something for people to use, but also something inspired by graffiti.